In general, I do have a lot of thoughts. I mean, Brian, I have a lot of thoughts. Like,
which is why I'm like,
you're asking me like the tip of the spear, of what. Like, I don't have a whole lot of thoughts on how I like my yard mowed, but not very many. Like, just most things that a lot of people have a lot of thoughts on. I don't have a lot of thoughts on.
When it comes to ministry and college students,
I got a lot of thoughts. As the day is long, I will try to keep my thoughts in a concise, containable.
Hey Trinity family, welcome back to some more of our digital content. I'm joined with Alex Newmaster of the Northern Iowa Navigators. But Alex, how about you just tell us a bit about yourself, about the Northern Iowa Navigators, and what it is you do there?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I work for the Navigators. We're a collegiate ministry here. We work on the campuses of University of Northern Iowa, Hawkeye, and Allen, and we help college students learn how to walk with Jesus to the degree in which they can help others do the same. And so, yeah, that's what we do there.
Awesome. So kind of backstory then, how did you get connected to the Navigators?
Yeah, so my freshman year, somebody came by, a guy from my floor came by and knocked on the door, inviting everybody to a Bible study who was leading with guys on the floor. And I really just kind of laughed when he asked. And one of our friends in the room said, "Yeah, we'll be there." And I thought, "We will?" And yeah, so I got invited by a guy that just took some interest in the guys' spiritual lives on our floor. And and he led a Bible study with us. The kid that actually said yes came to Christ within a couple of weeks, and we just saw this massive wave move through my friend group, including me.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So then going from a student to now you're on staff, kind of what led that transition? Like, how did you feel called to work with college students?
It was in like the 9th hour, and so I was interviewing in Kansas City, had some job offers with some leanings, and God just really redirected my heart. I couldn't even sleep at night. It was just this. I really realized, like, I just love the college campus, and I want to spend my time giving my life to college students. And so it was like late February of my senior year, which is pretty late. Generally, people make the decision in November or December.
So with the Navigators, you do a 2-year edge course. You did that at Iowa State.
Yep.
And then did you transition directly to University of Northern Iowa area after that, or is there any transition?
Yeah, so I did 4 years at Iowa State, and the last 2 years were at Drake University as well, so we commuted a couple days a week. And so I did my edge core experience there, and then staff and training. And then came over when I became a Nav rep, came over to take over the campus of University of Northern Iowa, and then we eventually started at Hawkeye and Allen as well.
Nice. So how long have you been at the Northern Iowa, those 3 campuses? How long have you been here then?
So this is year number 6. And so, yeah, it's been a real privilege.
Yeah. What is the purpose of college ministry? We all understand kids and youth ministry, but then into college, why does college ministry matter?
When I was working with college students at Northwest Missouri State, which is where I went to university, it was just this incredible experience. There was just such a pivotal moment asking the question, who am I going to be? And I could just see that the things they decided to be about in these 4 years, they're going to be about for the next 40. And I really love the fast-paced environment of the college campus. Everybody's just meeting new people all of the time. And then it becomes a really natural sending and scattering ground. So we just have 4 maybe 5 years with some students to invest in them deeply and get to watch as Christ grows in them take what they've learned, move to a new place, and help others learn how to walk with Jesus. And I just really love that picture. I get really excited about that.
Yeah. How do you kind of help facilitate that growth in students? What are some tools or techniques that you guys employ to help these students grow towards Christ?
Yeah, so Brian, we only have like 4 or 5 years with students, and which seems like a long time, but it's actually really short. So we want to give them just principles, and we want to help them not know what to think, but how to think critically, how to engage with the scriptures critically, and come up with their own conclusions in a community of people. And so that's really what we want to help them do. And that will launch them for the rest of their lives. So we don't really tell them how to think, but more, how do you develop critical thought around the scriptures? How do you relate with Jesus through the scriptures?
Yeah. So what is step 1? You have a student who's connecting with you guys. What do you do with them?
It's just helping them clearly understand the gospel. So actually the first 5 times we get together with a student that has just become a Christian, even if we think they come from a Christian background, we just spend time meeting with them and talking about all the different facets of the gospel and checking for comprehension in that. And so they call it the 5 assurances. It's a little study the Navigators have put together. And then after that, the next 5-ish meetings, we walk through this illustration the Navigators have called the wheel. And so we're just talking really about the fundamentals of walking with Jesus, relating with God, and living out with others this Christian life.
Awesome. And a lot of this, too, it's student-led, correct? So, like, you have a student who might come to learn about the Navigators as a freshman.
Yeah.
How do they kind of, like, go into that process of student leadership? What does that role look like?
Yeah. That's great. There's a couple different avenues. We don't have just one particular. They have to do this, and they have to do this, and they have to do this. But generally what we want to see in their life of a student leader is that they're walking with Jesus, and they're eager to help others do the same. And so that's the general statement. We have a few training programs that really help equip them. So we have a thing called Joshua Team, which focuses 4 weeks on their identity in Christ, and then 4 weeks on how do I begin spiritual conversations with my friends and learn to read the scriptures with my friends. How do I invite them into the time I have with the Lord? And so that generally helps prepare them. Or we'll send them to a summer training program, and those 8 weeks do essentially the same thing, but with a little more robust amount of time.
Yeah. And is the idea that, like, it's just further equipping students for their post-college career? Is it, do other students relate better to students as opposed to random old people who return to campus? And what's the vision, you think, behind equipping these student leaders?
Yeah, I think the primary vision is to help them learn how to walk with Jesus for a lifetime. We're not really interested in these 4 years in your life. We're interested in the rest of it. So we're interested in helping them learn how and the basics of that. And then the second thing we're interested in, we just want to teach you how to move towards the people God puts in your path. We want to help you pray for them and make known to them the gospel of life. And that's all we're really interested in, which, I mean, it sounds really simple. It's really complex, but they do a better job. Believing students reach non-believing students really effectively. But yeah, what we're primarily concerned with is that they learn how to walk with Jesus and grow in their intimacy with him. They do that for the rest of their life. And they have the skills to move towards their neighbors or their coworkers and share Jesus with them and help them do all the things they know how to do.
Yeah, and I know I lived on campus all 5 years as a student. But yeah, a lot of those great conversations I had with guys were at like midnight, 1 a.m, and I mean, you now have 4 kids. You're not going to be on campus at 1 a.m. So yeah, there's definitely that benefit too of that shoulder to shoulder, life on life benefit.
Yeah, Brian, and the Navigator's calling statement is to advance the gospel of Jesus Christ and his kingdom into the nations through spiritual generations of laborers. And this is the end that we like to drop off, but living and discipling among the lost. There's this real intentionality that the Navigators tend to cultivate of wherever I'm living, I'm going to do so intentionally. And we really coach our students as they graduate. Would you actually maybe pray more about not where am I going to work, but where am I going to live? Where am I going to minister first? And then we're going to find a job.
Yeah. So, I mean, you guys are doing a lot on campus, and this last year and a half really threw a wrench in everything. But are there any, like, initiatives or things you're doing right now that you're really excited about, or anything on the horizon that you're about to kick off? Like, what would you say is the most exciting thing for you? A new school year is literally starting right now. What are you most looking forward to this year?
We learned a ton through the pandemic, actually, and we really have realized that our preference is decentralized leadership because that's what we had to do. We couldn't really gather a ton of students in one spot and have to adhere to all of the protocol. And that's yielded incredible benefit. Last year, we had twice the number of freshmen in Bible study than our previous high water mark.
Wow.
And we were just, like 60% of our college students coming to our freshman Bible study did not come from an evangelical background.
Wow.
And Yeah, I think there's a few reasons for that. One of which is just nothing else was going on, but the other was our movement wasn't centralized at a location, but it was small groups and teams spread out on different campuses, thinking about smaller groups and populations, thinking about how can I love this population, how can I care for them, and how can I engage with them in Jesus.
Yeah.
So that's what we're really doing right now, is we're continuing this decentralized leadership under, new protocol now. And so I'm really excited about that.
So Alex, at Trinity, we are very missional focused. 2 weeks every year we just dedicate to our missions conference. We bring missionaries in. We support, I think it's over 20 some missionaries right now as a church. I mean, being a ministry so closely tied to Trinity, how or has that vision impacted the Northern Iowa Navigators?
Yeah, the Navigators here in Northern Iowa have been heavily connected to Trinity, and Trinity is really what has spurred on this heart for God's glory among the nations. And I don't know of any other campus that has so consistently produced long-term missionaries than you and I on behalf of the Navigators. And I think you and I was one of the first 10 campuses started by the Navigators, and from then, at the very beginning to today, we have produced a ginormous number of long-term missionaries. That was not possible without Trinity, without its influence and its support. The type of students that come to you and I, Hawkeye and Allen, are really generally a student with a lot of grit and a lot of toughness and a lot of compassion. And that really equates to a lot of people that tend to go overseas. And Trinity has really come behind that and cultivated that for as long as they existed. And that's just a really unique thing that we want to continue to cultivate as we partner with different places. Right now, we have our sights set on a city in Southeast Asia that doesn't have one known believer in the city that we can find from any other missions organization. There's nobody thinking about this place of 3 million people. And I can't believe places like that still exist.
Yeah.
And so, we love the type of college student that's here, and they tend to go, but I don't think they go without the support and encouragement that a church like Trinity has provided historically. And so I'm really thankful. And that's one of the reasons the Navigators consider this a really strategic spot, is because of the number of partner churches that are of one accord with us. And we want to take the gospel to the nations. And their degrees are taking them everywhere anyways. So why would we not impart the gospel to them? Because they're already leaving. Or from students just moved in today. I guess I'm giving away when we film this. But students just moved in today, and they're already on their way out the door. Yeah, their degrees are taking them around the world naturally.
Yeah,
and man, why would we not think about it as a sending and scattering ground?
Yeah, that's awesome. And I'm excited that Trinity gets to have Navs as an extension of our church. So as a local congregation at Trinity, we want to love everyone in our church. And let's be honest, like, if you come to our third service especially, you're going to see like half a third service is college kids.
Most college students, particularly the growing population of ours here locally, come from non-believing backgrounds or they're just leery. And actually, to get them to walk through the doors of a church is a little bit of a task. But when they walk through the doors of a church, it feels to them almost identical of walking through the doors of Walmart or Target. What they're looking for is, what am I being sold? And they're critically thinking about that. But often, we can welcome them wonderfully in the lobby of Trinity. And that communicates pretty similar things that the welcome or the greeter at Walmart communicates to them. It's like, okay, yeah, I kind of expected that. Hi. What they don't expect is a follow-up question to, hey, how are you doing? Oh, it's good to see you here. To be asked questions. So generally, I would articulate the feeling of a college student walking into any church in America right now is, this is the message they generally hear. They generally hear this: hey, you're welcome here. You're welcome here. As long as we stay here, you're welcome here. As long as it's on neutral ground. We say this really well with international students, actually. Most churches I hear tell everybody, hey, international students want to come into a home. And that's absolutely true. If we want to love well the large international populations on our college campuses, we need to invite them into our home. That's true of the American college students, though, as well. They often don't trust what's being said because they don't trust the person. And if you invite them into your home, particularly if you gather a few of the student leaders and say, hey, bring your friends over, we'll have pizza at my house, or anything. They're dying to eat off campus, right? We're going to go get, we're going to order whatever it is. You don't even have to make the meal. Just invite. If you invite them into your home, you have won their hearts, likely. The chances of them getting invited into a home are slim to none, to be honest with you. And if you communicate, you care about them, and you want to get to know them, then they'll start to trust you. Then they'll start to listen to this message that we're sharing with them. So yeah, that would be my advice. If we want to win the hearts of the college students at any church, it has to be done around our dining room table. They want to interact with us. They're pretty scared, too. It's my assessment. But if you find a few leaders and say, hey, you can invite this number of people or whatever over, they would love that.
Okay. How might I go about, is there a person or a way that I could contact someone and figure out, hey, who's someone that I could connect with so I could get to love this community better? What would you tell me to do?
Yeah, if you wanted to get connected to some student leaders, I would just ask some of the UNI NAV staff. It could be me or anybody on my staff team. We'd quickly get you connected. Most of the other staff also lead freshman studies, so they could bring freshmen over or underclassmen or whoever. Yeah.
I'd like to thank everyone for watching. Thanks, Alex, for joining us. If you have any questions for Alex, you can reach out to him. We'll have the link to their homepage and all the information you need with the video. But also throw any questions, any comments you have in the comments, and we'll make sure that he or someone equally equipped sees them. Because we want this to be a beautiful partnership and one that is just blessing the Cedar Valley, the nations, God himself. Yeah. So thank you very much, Alex.
Yeah. Thanks, Brian.